While Simber's getting organized, remember if you're going to talk or even play for each other, which we don't know, but check where your original sound is. And it should
Yes,
be
and if you
on.
are on a phone or an iPad, I think you have to set up your original sound before you join the meeting. So I don't think it's possible to do so afterwards. If you're on a computer, you can. Oh, one more thing. I'll be right back. All right, we'll get officially started. Welcome, welcome, everyone. It's Tuesday, January 28th, 2025. We are at the end of January, which is amazing. And here we are. Tonight is something new for the Improvising Harpist. I'm calling it Practice and Share. You can think of it as study hall for harpists. If you were in high school or college, remember getting together with your friends and you're all working on your own things, but you're sitting together at the library or the student union or something like that. That is what we are doing tonight. I will be playing live. You'll be able to hear me, but you won't be able to hear each other. And I will give you ideas if you need some ideas for things to play. If you're working on something you are already that you're working through, you are totally welcome to work on that. If it's something on paper, you're working on a tune for an upcoming event or a wedding or something, just consider this practice time together, a little accountability. Sometimes it's hard to sit down and practice by yourself, and having somebody to just be with is sometimes really, really helpful. So that's what we're doing tonight. Looking at my notes of what I sent out, and what I'm going to talk about tonight is what I'm going to be using is my favorite exercise book. This is not the only exercise book, of course, out there, but I love this book. It's Deborah Freyo's Harp exercise. Yours probably doesn't come with a little kitty on the cover. That came from a student a long time ago who wanted to put a kitty on my cover. But there it is, Deborah Freyo's book. And I'm going to be working with pages 16 through 18 tonight. These are triads and inversion exercises, but we'll be doing them, or I'll be doing. You can do them with me, doing them with different chords. So and I'll be using dice for that tonight, and using a metronome as well. I've got Pro Metronome on my phone. It looks like this. This is a paid metronome. There is a free version. I bought this years and years and years ago. It's gotten rather expensive, but but once you buy it, you buy it. It's not a subscription that you have to keep paying for. So with that in mind, and then at the end of we'll do this maybe for, let's say, 20 minutes. And then if you've got something you've worked out that you'd like to share and play a little bit, and then we'll do another 20 minutes and another share and answer questions. And if there's a little extra time at the end, we'll do it again. We'll do a little bit more. So I'm taking a look at page 16 here. This is quarter notes, triads and inversions. I really encourage everyone to work on their inversions, to be able to see them on your harp. They are much easier than doing inversions on the piano, because no matter what key you're in, the positioning of the inversions is the same. You could be playing in 6 flats on a pedal harp. It's still the same as playing in the key of C on a lever harp. So once you know these hand positions, you've got them for all 12 keys, or 7 keys on your lever harp. Just 1 second, I'll bring my music stand so that I can see it a little bit better. My workspace is kind of tight here. So I'm just going to play them as written right now. The top one is a C, the middle one is an F, the bottom one is a G chord, and I'm going to set my metronome for something slow to start with. Let's say 70. Whoops. Get that, and turn that up. There we go. Can everybody hear that okay? Hear my metronome okay? All right. And let me set a timer for 20 minutes because this is what I say to do, so I do it myself. So I'm setting this is my timer. I'll set this for 20 minutes so we can get going. All right. So I'm going to start here and I'm going to do it just as written, one hand at a time. And you can follow along or do something different. 1, 2, 3, 1, ready, go. Oh, hang on. Different key from an earlier lesson. Sorry. I have done that at a concert too. Very awkward, but all right. 1, ready, go. Trying as best I can to place early. Left hand. There's no brackets written here, but I'm placing it early. Go to the F here. Oops. 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 Start there again. Left hand. Then we'll go back to the top just to give it a completion. Oops, it's the right hand. So one of the things that I noticed for myself right away is that I don't usually play my inversions like this. Let me stop the metronome. Pause for a second. This is just something for you to notice for yourself, that normally when I practice my inversions, I go up the way I go up. But then what I usually do is I do them backwards going down, which is not what's written here. So doing it the way that Deborah wrote it is causing me to have to think through things and do things a little bit differently. This may or may not be a thing for you, but I know it's causing me to expand my thinking about how I'm approaching my inversions. And the reason that I'm that it's good for me to be thinking this way. It's like, oh, here's another option for an improv. I could, in a part of an improv, do this. Instead of doing what I usually do, which is. And this is what you get with exercises. It's like, oh, it's another idea that I could use. This is a cool thing. Okay, so now I want to get out some dice. I got out my Yahtzee game. Anybody ever wants to play Yahtzee, you can play Yahtzee on Zoom, long distance. You just have to have your own version. I have a couple friends I play Yahtzee with, one in San Diego and one in Canada. We sometimes get together and play Yahtzee online. But Yahtzee has dice. So now, if you've been with me for a while and you know Stefanie Bieber, Stefanie is an improv teacher in Germany. She's the one who taught me this. And so because this page has 3 different chords on it, I'm going to roll 3 dice that are going to give us 3 different chords. So, 6, 6, and 3. Well, I want to have 3 different ones, so I'm going to re-roll one of my 6s. Oh, now 3, 3, 6. Oh, the universe wants multiple things. Okay, 2, 3, 6. So, in the key of C, the 2 chord starts on the 2nd note of the scale, so that's a D minor. The 3 is an E minor, and the 6 is an A minor. They happen to go very nicely together. We got lucky. Bunch of minor chords. All right. So we're going to do the same exercise, but with those 3 chords. All right. So it's going to go like this. Start the metronome. So I'm going to start with the 6. Just because I know that it's going to work out well that way. It's going to sound good this way, but you can start with whichever one you want. And I'm going to do the same exact patterns, I think. I'm going to try. I'm going to see if it's going to work. So I'll do the first one. So I'm going to substitute the A minor for the C, and we'll see what happens here. So here we go. 1, ready, go. Oops. Now I have to stop and think for a second, because the next chord I want to do is, I'm going to say 2. I'm going to do 6, 2, 3. You can do them in any order that you like, but I'm going to do 6, 2, 3. So if I'm going to do it, if I'm going to go from an A minor chord in the root position, stop the metronome for a second. I have to think for a minute. And I want the A to be the root note again. And I want to follow the same pattern of this F as best I can. Then I'm going to do A, D, F. I'm going to do the inverted D minor chord. Yeah, 2 chord. And if I'm going too fast or I'm losing you, just pop a note in the chat, and Candace will stop me, and you can ask your questions. So I'm doing A, D, and F. So I'm going to start the metronome again. Okay, so far so good. Now I've got to stop and think again, because now I've got the 3 chord that's going to be the E minor. It's right here. No. Yeah. What am I going to do? I'm going to do... Okay. All right, so then to follow the pattern, this doesn't always work out. That's following this pattern this nicely on the triads and inversion on page 16. But because we're going 6, 2, 3, it's working out really well. So on the next one, for the E minor, I'm going to do G, B, E for the E minor, this inverted E minor chord. And it's going to follow the same pattern. So we're going to do that. And then we'll return to A minor. So I'm just checking to make sure everybody's following what I'm doing. Not at all. Nope, shaking heads. Okay. Do you have the oh, there's a chat. Oh, sorry, I'm seeing chat, not seeing the chat. You are losing me, June. I thought it was a Yahtzee box. I have a question about the modes if I have time tonight. Yes, I do. Remind me at the end and we'll do it. Okay. So are you following on this? Do you have this book? You don't have that book. Okay. So the best thing for you to do is grab your phone and take a picture of this so that you have, oh, let me make myself bigger. Hang on 1 second. There we go. Got it. Okay, cool. Okay, so, and you don't have to do what, this is a practice time for everybody, but this, I'm sharing with you what I do when I'm practicing, when I am working on my own, building my library of improvisational stuff. So, okay, let me slow down and figure out how to explain what I'm doing a little bit better.
Actually, could you just go over the C one, where you went up and back down? I wasn't sure what you were doing different coming back down.
Oh, okay. So, yes. So when I'm just following what's written in the book here. So I'm going up. We'll start the C1. The root inversion, first inversion, second inversion, back to the root inversion. That's the first group, I guess we could call it. And then the second group, there's the first inversion, back to the root inversion. And the way I'm doing them is I'm playing, starting on the low note and moving up, but the inversions are moving all together, moving down. Does that make sense? So I'm going, as I'm moving up, I'm starting with the bottom note. As I'm moving down, I'm still starting with the bottom note. That's what's written. And what I was hopefully wasn't confusing you, but I'm sorry if I did. What I was saying is that when I play them when I'm just playing them on my own, when I get to the top, I start at the top note. And I'm much faster doing it that way. But when I do it the other way, where I do it this way, I'm much slower because it's not my habit. My fingers are like, what? You want me to do what? So I have to work slower and actually think about what I'm doing. It hasn't moved into muscle memory yet. So far, so good? Okay. And then the second, and then you do the exact same thing with the left hand. So right now, the way this is written is it's hands separately, but you can also eventually do them both hands together. Still messy for me, but I'm glad you're seeing me mess around and make mistakes, because I tend to play the stuff that I'm comfortable with, and you know, people are like, oh, that's so beautiful, and they'll be like, yeah, but you didn't see me practice this and get to this point. So I'm glad you're seeing me mess up and make mistakes. So okay, what I'm trying to convey to you guys tonight is to take a pattern out of your favorite exercise book and apply it to different chords. So if you don't know what chords to work with, that's why I'm recommending the dice. But if you're like, oh no, I know which chords I like, I'm going to work with those chords. You don't need the dice. I just pulled them out just as an example of one way to figure out chords. So then if I'm going to do the exact same, so if I do this a little bit faster than just with the right hand, here's the F. G. And then back to the C just to make it complete. Strengthen your hands exercises, but also build these various hand positions into your muscle memory so they're available to you when you're improvising. So what could that look like if you're improvising? I could then do, let's see. And if you're filling background music, you're at a restaurant, you're just doing some background music, that's something that you can do. Or you're trying to fill the space between two songs, that's something you can do. If you're trying to improvise on a particular song, which we're not going to do tonight, but you could take the chords of that song and just play the inversions of those chords. We'll do that another night, but because I know we don't have enough time to do all of that. So far, so good? Thumbs up? Okay. All right. So let's turn the page, and June, you can take another picture here. Try to get my fingers out of the way. This is page 17. I hope someday to meet Deborah for you. I kind of feel like she's a pretty shy person, but I'm so grateful. She's written so many great books that I love her. I love the way she organizes exercises into something that sound kind of song-like. They sound like they're not just random stuff thrown together, but that it's got some movement to it. Okay, so these are more triads and inversions, but with two hands. So I'm just going to play this as written. I'm just page 17, and then we'll apply it to these same three chords that we just did a second ago. I won't change the chords. So this is, oh, let me do it with the metronome. So this is 6/8. So this is about let's set it 150 on my metronome. we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Here, switch the F. Moving down. Now to the G, inverted G. Back to C. Oops, oh, no, that's all right. Oh, and that's our 20 minutes. We're almost done there, Mr. Clock, Mrs. Clock. Okay. Now back to the C. So we're doing the D, C, All, Fine, if you're following along. Okay, so that's just as written. I just wanted to reiterate what I was saying earlier when we first started, is that the hand position for the root chord is the same for every key, for every mode. It's every other string. For a C chord, for a D minor chord, for an E minor, F, G, A minor, A diminished, C. Once you have the feel of this in your hands, you don't have to look. I'm not looking. Well, I'm kind of cheating. I'm looking at myself in my Zoom, but okay. Memorize this. And one way to memorize this, I'll take you back to my very first teacher, Susan Zievenbergen in Fort Collins. She also teaches online. She had me squeeze the strings. And she might have learned this even from Christina Turin, because she's a student of Christina's. Squeeze the strings, play the chord. Put your fingers back on the strings, squeeze the strings. Play the chord, squeeze the strings. Now, bring your hand slightly away from the strings, come back, put your fingers back on the strings, squeeze the strings. Move your hand further away, bring it back, see if you can get back to the same place, squeeze the strings. The squeezing thing helps the muscles to know where the strings are. Do I get it on every time? No, sometimes I don't, but if I miss, I'm probably still in the root position, just on a different chord. And I've been doing this so long that this is a very natural hand position for me to be in now. Okay. The next inversion of the C chord is the E, G, and C up here. So it's every other string and then every 2 strings for this first inversion. I don't, to be totally honest, I still have to sit down and go, now, is it first inversion or second inversion? First inversion. Because to me, an inversion is just an inversion. I'm gradually starting to realize probably I should memorize which one is which. But Susan gave me a good memory aid, and I'm going to share this with you, that the thumb is on the C, which is the root note. Thumb is the finger number 1, first inversion. Finger number 1, first inversion. This thumb is here. So that's a little memory aid for remembering you're on the first inversion. Squeeze these strings. Play them. Move your hand away, come back, squeeze the strings, play them. You can play them as a solid chord, you can play them as a broken chord. You want to get to the point where you can bring your arm all the way over here, all the way back, and still get back to that inverted position comfortably. Or completely shake out your hand position, put your hand here, come back and put it back on. With confidence that you're doing every other one on the bottom and every 2 strings on the top. First inversion. This is the same hand position. First inversion hand position is the same for every key, every mode. When you get to the where your hand knows where to go, you can do it without looking. And if you're thinking, oh my God, I'm never going to be able to do this, there are plenty of blind harp players out there who do it all the time. We can do it too. They're doing it by touch and by listening. So now we're going to move to the next inversion, which is the second inversion. Is your middle finger's on the G, 2 finger on the C, that's the root note, 2 finger, second inversion, it's a memory aid there, and then the thumb on the E up here. So it's every 2 strings on the bottom and every other string on the top. Same pattern, squeeze those strings, play them, move your hand away, come back, squeeze those strings, play them. You can play them broken, you can play them solid, you can play them rolled. Squeeze them, bring your hand away, come back. Again, this hand position is the same for every key and every mode. And then we go back to the next inversion, which is the root inversion up here. And when you have a 3-note chord, 1, 2, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, there's 3 inversions. There's the root inversion, the first inversion, and the second inversion. That's it. That's all there is. If your chord has 4 notes in it, like a G7 chord, there's going to be 4 inversions. One for every note to be a root note. So we'll maybe talk about that in a minute. But for now, I want you all to be able to do this and be able to see where those inversions are on your harp. To see each chord as a root chord or first inversion or second inversion. Okay? Now in this exercise that Deborah For You does, she starts the F chord on an inversion. She starts it on the second inversion. Your second finger's on the F, second inversion. Because she doesn't want to move too far away from the C chord. That's why we use inversions. So you still got that middle finger on the C on the bottom. So you move from second inversion to root to first inversion. The hand positions are the same. Down, and then I won't move back. I won't move past that too fast. And you want to be practicing this with both hands. I'm doing it just with the right hand because it's easier for you to see what I'm doing. But when I'm practicing these, I'm doing them with both hands. And the hand position and the fingering is the same for left and right hands. One of the things I love about the harp. It is not true on the piano. Is left and right fingering on the piano is a mirror image of each other. But on the harp, it's the same. Here we go. Now can I do it at the same time and talk? Not as fast as this at this. to be honest. So this is one I can tell I need to practice more. To practice the F inversions for myself. And then the G. So this is a G inversion. This is the first inversion. Your thumb is on the G. Thumb 1. Oh, bye, Lisa. And why are we using inversions? So that we don't have to move our hand around very much. If I'm playing a C chord in the root position, and then I play an F in the root position, and then I play a G in the root position, and then I go back to the C in the root, I'm moving around a lot. And it's an opportunity for mistakes. So this minimizes mistakes, minimizes errors. You can see I'm barely moving my hand around. That doesn't mean you have to play it, but that's why we have inversions, to make it easier to make those chord progressions without moving around too much. Okay, so far so good? All right, so now what I want to be able to do is apply these patterns to different chord progressions. This is something I've talked about a lot over the last few years, and I think I've kind of haven't been explaining it very well. So I really wanted to dive into it tonight and keep working our way through it as we go along. How to take something like Deborah for You or Boxa or Grossi or whatever you've got that has patterns in it and apply them to different chord progressions. So I rolled my dice, as I said earlier. I've got an A minor, a D minor, and an E minor. And it just works out that those three minors go together very nicely in the way that C major, F major, and G major go together. If you want me to nerd out at the end and explain why that is, I will. But right now, just go with me on this. So now I'm going to play the A minor in the root position, just like I was playing the C, except I'm going to play the A minor. I'm going to play the D minor in the second inversion, two finger on the D, so I'm playing A, D, and F, and then back to A minor. And then I'm going to play the E minor in the first inversion, thumb on the E, G, B, E, and then back to A minor. So there's kind of two things happening here. One is that I'm just giving you the starting place for each one of these chords, but we're going to do this two-handed exercise here on page 17 of Deborah for You. So here we go. Back to the second inversion, first inversion, root inversion. Now I'm going to the D minor in the second inversion, second finger on the D, root, first, yes, that's right, sorry. Wait a second. Yeah. I'm going to the E minor first inversion, so E, B, G, B, E. Second inversion, root. So far, so good? Okay. We're just building the pantry. In the terms of terminology of the cookbook, we're building, we're going to the spice store, we're getting some garam masala, we're getting some cinnamon, we're getting some oregano, we're getting some spices and herbs to put in our improvisations. Okay, so now what does that sound like if I'm doing an improv? Okay, so I've got my, hold on, I put them all together here, my 6, 2, 3. And I've got it as I say, well, okay, so pick a chord progression, pick a key, time signature 6/8. I like 3/4 and 6/8 myself, and I'm gonna do these chords in this order, but I'm not necessarily all the inversions now. I'm gonna put the chords in order, so it's gonna be like this. So. Now, I will confess to you that G, B, E is a little, to my ears, a little confusing to think. My brain says, oh, I'm going somewhere else, somewhere different. So I'm going to change that up a little bit. So I'm putting the B on the bottom instead of the G. So let's see how that goes. Depends on what I'm trying to convey. So I kind of took off a little bit, but let me be a little more true to the inversions here. I'll try that again. One more time. So in the left hand, I'm playing the inversions the way that we laid them out. So in the root, first inversion, second inversion with the B on the bottom. And in the right hand, I'm playing these inversions with some patterns to them. And you can see here I am doing a downward moving inversion rather than doing. I have to work to remember to do that. Just inversions and in the left and right hand in different patterns. I shouldn't say just, as it's taken. So in the left hand, I'm trying to change the chord, but not too far away using the inversions. That's right. Yeah. Yeah. And you don't have to do that, but that is what the inversions are there for, is to make the transitions from one chord to another easier. And when you're working in written music, just look for how the composer is choosing to do that. How is different composers, Christy Lynn or Anne Godet or whoever you love to play, look at how they're choosing to handle that. Because now you know. You can look at that and say, oh, look what she did. Oh, isn't that cool? That's so cool the way she did it. That's so she's choosing to use these inversions or these patterns or these different harmonies. Now you can start to see those patterns. And I think that makes reading music easier when you can start to see those patterns. It's not just note, 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 which was the way I learned to read music, and it was very hard. Note, 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 note. Now I can start to see whole patterns and inversions, and it just makes the reading so much easier and faster. All right, has this been useful? Does anybody want to try playing something? No, you don't have to. You can say no. But I would love for you to play with this over the next couple of weeks. Get out your dice, get out a song that you love, and just play the chord progression. It can be a hymn. Christmas carols are good. If you're not sick at Christmas, there's still, Christmas carols are good, got good chord progressions in them. There's all kinds of wonderful pop songs out there, Celtic songs. Sylvia Woods mostly puts the chords in her music, in her books. So you can go to those if you've got Sylvia Woods books. Lots of composers, lots of harp composers include the chord symbols in their music, which I think is really useful, really helpful. Okay, so the last thing I want to just, so if you look on page 18 here, we've got descending triads. So this is what I tend to do when I'm moving downward in my inversions. This is back to C here. It's good to do both ascending and descending patterns, so you have them there in your fingers, and so you can see them. Lots and lots and lots of my students struggle with moving downwards. And I think it's a vision thing. It's taken me a long time to figure this out. But if you're playing this way, you can see very easily 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1. But if you have to go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, it's harder to see your fingers. It's harder to see what's going on. So just notice that. If that's an issue for you, just notice that, it's easier to go up than it is to go down. Congratulations, you're like most people. You're human, and it's okay. But this is where we come back to memorizing these hand positions so that you can play them without looking or minimal looking. You can do it by touch, and you can check yourself with your ears. Does it sound right? That's the way she's written them. And then the way I play them is I'll go up, going up. 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, and then 1, 2, 3 going down. And all of these are useful ingredients to have in your pantry. Inversions are super helpful. Chords are super helpful when you're doing improvisation. They always, and if you're new to improvisation, you're feeling unsure about what you're doing, even if you're an experienced improviser, but you're like, now I'm suddenly in an unfamiliar territory, inversions always sound good. You're not you're not wandering off into passing tones that might not sound so great, in certain situations. Chords are going to always work. And even when I play jazz, which has got lots of opportunity for bad notes, if I just stick to the chords for my solos, it sounds good. It sounds good. There's nobody in the audience going, oh, she didn't play passing tones. Ugh. Right? It sounds good. All right. Before we finish, I want to get to June's question about the modes. Go ahead and unmute yourself, June.
So my question is, so if I'm in the key of C and I switch to the Dorian mode, which would then be from D to D, do I change the chords? So in the key of C, your first chord would be the C chord, D, E. So when you're in the Dorian mode, your first chord is the D chord then, right?
That's right.
You just move the whole scale and you move the chords accordingly. Okay, that's exactly what I thought. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It matters where you start.
Matters where you start. Okay.
Mm-hmm. It sets the tone, literally.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'll give you an example. If I'm playing a lot of time, well, the way I was taught, the way Susan Ziebenberger, who I mentioned earlier, and Christina Turin taught, is that the D minor chord goes nicely with the C chord. So it could be, I'll do it with inversions. Also happens to be Drunken Sailor. What will we do with a drunken sailor? What will we do with a drunken? And lots and lots of Celtic music does the Dorian to the Ionian, moving back and forth. Right? But if I do those same exact two chords, but I start on a C, I'm going to play this first to get it in your ear. It says matters where you start. Completely different feel. They're the exact same chords.
So I have one additional question, if you don't mind.
Yeah, of course.
So if you're playing in the key of C and you're playing a 2, 5, 1, 6 progression, but you're playing the inversion. So the first chord would be ADF instead of DFA. You're not.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
So you're not playing in A minor then, right? Let me see if I word this differently. So if I'm playing a 2, 5, 1, 6 progression in the key of C, but I'm playing, it's not A minor, right? It's still the key of C, right?
It's the key of C, yes.
Okay. If it was A minor, then the one chord would be the A minor chord.
It depends on where, what I'll use a technical term, the tonal center is.
Okay.
So it could be that it's an A minor, but it depends on where you start. So if I start on a 6, go to the 2. Back to 6. Kind of depends on where you start and what your intention is. What emotion are you trying to convey? I could easily move that into C, because now this is what I was going to nerd out on a little bit earlier, is that you can substitute the 6 for the 1. It's their 6 is the relative minor of 1. So let's take an example. If everybody's got just a few more minutes, if we do green sleeves, which is a really great one to work with, it's got a nice chord progression, and so it goes 6, 5, 4, 3, 6. Right? So here's 6, 5 in inversions, 6, 3 in an inverted root position, right? G chord, descending G chord. Okay, so this has all been based on 6. It's an A minor chord. It's a minor chord. But then the second part hops into the major chord, goes to a C. But then it goes back to the exact same rest of the chord progression. 5, 4, 3, back to 1, 5, 4, 3, and then back to the 6. So the only difference between the A section and the B section is that you're substituting the 6 for the 1. Does that make sense? And it sounds, this is like a magic trick. It sounds like there's way more going on than there really is. There's one chord progression with one change in the B part, but that's really just the same chord progression all the way through. And that's what makes it so great for background music and for bridging songs together, because it sounds to the audience way more complicated than it is to the harpist. You're playing 4 chords, 5, the 6 and the 1. But this is the same thing over and over and over again. And then just to come back to what we've been talking about all night, which is using inversions. So I'll just do a quick on green sleeves, where I'll play, instead of playing the melody, I'm just going to play the inversions. Pretty. And now you know how to do it. Pull back the curtain. There's the wizard hiding behind the curtain. Yeah, cool. Helpful? Okay, all right, super. I love doing this. I'm so glad you guys are here. It's helping me. I am actually back to, somebody sent me a note and said, when is your cookbook coming out? It is actually helping me to get the cookbook written, and the things we talk about here on Tuesday nights are things that are going to show up as recipes in the cookbook and things that you'll be able to do. And yeah, Jackie, glad you're here. Completely changes it. Yeah, good. All right. If you have questions between now and next time we get together, just shoot me a note or post it in the Facebook group. The next time we get together is February. Oh, it's next week actually. So just because of the way my schedule's working out. So it normally is every 2 weeks, but tell your friends and I'll send out an email, because in 2 weeks I'm going to be away. So we're going to have our next one next week, a week from tonight. And it's going to be kind of like that through the spring because of spring break and my schedule and stuff. So I posted all of that in the in the emails that I send out. If you're not on the email list, send me a note. I'll add you to the email list, and be sure to post it in the Facebook group as well. Tell your friends. Come, come, come. Yeah. All righty. Thank you, everyone. Mwah! Have a great